we need to understand what is the purpose of creating this coronavirus vaccines, as you can see in the slide. As you can see in the slide, we know that the coronavirus can cause you these 3 harmful scenarios, which is severe symptoms, being hospitalized, and worse comes to worse, death. And that's the point of this COVID-19 vaccine is all about. It's about preventing you by getting these 3 symptoms. So these three harms, which is severe symptoms, hospitalizations, and death. Now, the reason why we want to do this is because it is really important to get your COVID-19 vaccines. Is because number one, we don't want to overburden the healthcare workers, because they've been doing they've been doing a great job, and we don't want to let anyone die from the coronavirus. There's been so many people who has died.
True.
I mean, we don't want any more casual death. And last but not least, we don't want more variants, please.
Oh my God, there's 4. That's already too much.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot.
Started with 1. Yeah.
Yes, and that's why we need the COVID-19 vaccine. So now let's talk about what you said earlier about the World Health Organization. All right. So what the World Health Organization has been doing is they've been collaborating with a few other companies, like as you see in the screen, Gavi, UNICEF, and other companies. Oh, sorry, CEPI or CEPI. I don't know how you say it in English, but anyways.
I think it's CEPI.
But they have created a mechanism called COVAX. Right? COVAX is a mechanism is to help all countries to get sustainable COVID-19 vaccines. Their aim is to at least vaccinate 2 billion people by the end of 2021. Now that's a big task. How do we find the meaning of Islam, and what does it mean to become a Muslim? Because I know for so far I've chatted with you before, and you've gone through a lot of trials, and well, not trials, but you've got very interesting stories how you went from places to find the meaning of Islam. So I think it'll be interesting to tell the audience that how do you find it, and what does it mean to become a Muslim?
Myself, okay, I am Hasrizal. I am the son of Abdul Jamil. I am someone from Ipoh. I am Malaysian. That is how I think about who am I with that question. But then at the end, he said, you are actually Abdullah. You are the slave of Allah. So welcome to the school where you will learn to become the slave of Allah. The word Islam itself explains to us about the meaning of being a Muslim, because there are 2 perspectives of Islam, the meaning. First is submission, and second one is peace. The word Islam, salama, salima in Arabic kan. So there are 2 things, submission and peace, meaning that submission is what you need to do. Second thing is what you will get. So what we need to do is to submit ourselves. We can only submit ourselves if we know who we are and to whom we want to submit. So that is the first one. But we know what we want in this life. We want to have peace. Not peace surrounding, but peace with our own inner self. So I think the most important aspect of being a Muslim is to answer the question, who are you? Who is the one who created you? And how you make connection between you and your own creator. So that is the most important aspect. Yeah.
So talking about your story, and I think it relates a lot to me. I'm not sure about Shak, but for me it relates a lot to me because I don't know, because for those viewers, I came from an Islamic school, Sira Aisha Islamic School, shutting out my old school there. So I learned a lot of Islamic concepts there. I learned about the meaning of Islam, but I never really got to really experience what it is to be in the real world. Because I feel like after we take things for granted in school, sometimes we learn Islamic studies, we be like okay lah, this and that here and there. But when you move out from school, you feel like there's a whole new level. I think that's where the journey starts, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, gear up and be ready because we're about to get to the debate zone. Ladies and gentlemen, Wakanda is a fictional country created by Marvel, and it is located in sub-Saharan Africa. home to the superhero Black Panther, also known as King T'Challa, the King of Wakanda. For centuries, Wakanda has hidden its information to the world of their technological advancement, and their country are rich in source of vibranium, a fictional metal that is said to be one of the strongest metal on Earth in the Marvel Universe. Now, after the event of the Marvel's Black Panther movie, Wakanda decided to openly share their current state of the country to the world. And the remain question is that assuming that Wakanda do decide to open its border to the world to everybody, should Wakanda adapt to globalism or should they remain in isolation?
Madam Chair, what side government has proposed to you today is great, no doubt. However, what they have proposed to you today is all butterflies and rainbows. The world that they're living in is very idealistic, not very realistic. What happens when globalism is applied to Wakanda? A few rebuttals from my side. My first response is that they didn't have any other comparisons why Wakanda should really open up their borders. They didn't tell you why it is so significant for them that they have a moral obligation that they should open up their borders. They only say all these benefits, which is great. It's true. But they didn't say if there was any other form of corporations or organizations that can do this, and why Wakanda is more significant. That is what they have to answer on their side, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair. Secondly, we believe that even though they're going to bring this technology to other countries, we believe that there's a mistrust of usage of technology because they're going to be given by the governments, right? And when you think of a government, not all governments are very accountable with what they do and how they use their technology, right? Like imagine if the United States were to be given the military from Wakanda. You want to take the second question? Oh, sorry. Yes.
Go on. No. We can move on.
All right. So moving on to our second question, we're also wondering. So, how has this experience celebrating Eid in a different country and culture shaped you as a person and also as a Muslim?
Actually, I think I kind of answered this just now, but just to directly answer it now, me more appreciative of the Malaysian Raya traditions. Like how I get bored before. Now I'm just like, oh, man, I wish I was more in the moment back then, when I was experiencing this. But also I am forced to do things myself now if I want to experience it, like cooking some raya dishes, putting on this music. But as a Muslim, I want to say that it makes me very grateful, first of all, for what I had before growing up in Malaysia and experiencing Eid in Malaysia. But second, I'm also very grateful that I get to still spend time with family. So although I didn't have my own family, I still had my husband's family, and they are very, very welcoming. Like my mother-in-law, she asked me to blast out the Raya music out loud.
Wow. That is fun.
Yeah. That meant a lot to me as well because, I think she just wanted me to feel more, a bit more of home, I guess. And that meant a lot to me to have people from my new family welcoming that. And I did cook masak lodeh in the morning, and some of my family members tried it. I don't know if they liked it or not. They didn't really comment, but it meant that they wanted to try it, And they were very welcoming for me to cook in the kitchen of something that I grew up with. So yeah, generally as a Muslim, I feel like there's a lot of gratitude when it comes to this kind of experience.
So I would like to ask you, what does it take to become an engineer?
You know what? Let's start from the beginning. When you heard about the engineer, so what's supposed to mean engineer? So maybe one of you are thinking about engine or something about the mechanical. So no, previously back to the history when I became an engineer from during my secondary school. So I just want to be an engineer. I remember when the question coming from my teacher, what you're going to be later on. So I want to become an engineer. So just that. So I know that an engineer will create something. So engineer will solve something. So engineer will do something that we are helping everybody. So we have professional technologies. What is the difference? So what does it take to be an engineer? So for me, an engineer is somebody that can is a problem solver. Is a person that can combine his critical thinking to identify he or she able to identify a problem. So meaning that you must know that there is a problem in front of you. It's not that you have a problem, you have a fire. Example, you have a fire in front of you, you just passing by, you do nothing. So the engineer is you notice and fire, and can you stop there. So but it's not just that. So you notice you identify the problem. So what's next? So you will come out with a solution.
You may pick the wrong leader in democracy. So that's really one of the things that we need to also look towards that, because at the end of the day, we need to cater to all people. So sometimes the majority doesn't really help, right?
Another thing that I would like to highlight about democracy is that about the vision of power, and what can we gain from the vision of power? Especially in Malaysia, we have the vision of power between the government and the YDPA, right? So two benefits that we can gain from this is, number one, there's no absolute abuse of power were to occur, and it allow necessary intervention to take place if any unwanted situation happens. And another benefit to it is actually allow us to have platform for changes to take place. Now, what sort of changes I'm going to talk about? I'm going to talk about it later, but today I'm here more on how can we improve democracy. And the democracy that I'm going to specifically talk about is democratic values, because when we know or we can establish democratic better in ourselves, it helps to help us to maneuver our way around in our current democratic system. And remember when all the flaws that Heike was talking about, maybe we could avoid all these problems, right? Okay.
I mean, you can.
Take it away, Anaka.
But I mean, take it away.
Yeah, okay. So the first, how can we improve this democratic value is, as cliche as it sounds, is to instill knowledge through education about how democracy works. So moving on to my second point is to how to instill this democratic value is take part in the uni life activities or any NGO organized programs.
You see the picture, as you see, there's all the Malaysian athletes, right? And this is what I like about the Olympics itself when it comes to Malaysia, is that we unite each other.
Yes,
right?
we do.
No matter what race or background you're from, we're united by one cause, is by winning and cheering on for our athletes.
Yes.
And this is where I move on to the second value of Olympism, which is friendship. Of course, sports is good. Of course, sports is going to be competitive, right? You've been in sports, Shaq. You've played rugby before, right?
Yeah, I have. I understand that you make bonds with the people, especially when you're in the team, right?
Yeah.
Play with them every day, then you get a special bond. Yeah, go on.
So this is a platform where you get to meet people from all over the world, right? From China, from the US, from
any country that's
any country from around the world, right? And this is where it's the best place for you to exchange your culture, your thoughts. It's like a hot pot, the Olympics, right?
It's a big hot pot.
It's a big hot pot, and honestly, it's the best time to actually interact with people, make friends, and make bonds. I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's a game, right? We all want to achieve one. Every athletes and everyone cheering on their own athletes, they want them to win. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't we shouldn't see them as our enemies at the end of the day.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the International Youth Engagement Talk Series 2022. Before we get started, we will present to you a short video by our sponsors. As you all know, this event is from the 17th to 20th of May, and today is our second day. My name is Farah Atikah binti Khalil, and I am a hotel management student from UiTM Pulau Pinang. Today we'll be having My name is Farah Atikah binti Khalil, and I am a student from I am a hotel management student from UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang, Malaysia. I am honored to be your host for today's program. For today, we will be having two sessions. The first will be a webinar talk entitled Importance of Soft Skill in Employment by our guest speaker, Mr. Daniel Abdurrahman, a Sunway Education Director. The second session will be a forum on scholarship and student exchange program, tips and experience. We will be having 4 guest panelists. The first guest is from UiTM, Cawangan Pulau Pinang, 2 guests from Universitas Muhammadiyah, Pontianak, Indonesia, and 1 guest from Xavier University, Antinio di Cagayan, Philippines. Just a reminder, the feedback form for this program is at the chat box on our YouTube channel. Without taking much of your time, please welcome our first guest for the webinar talk on importance of soft skills in employment. I request everybody to give a round of applause for this intelligent Mr. Daniel Abdurrahman. The moderator for this session will be Mr. Ahmad Farhan Abdul Aziz Fahmi, a student from UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang. Take it away, Mr. Farhan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the International Youth Engagement Talk Series 2022, organized by English Language Club, University Technology Mara, Pulau Pinang Branch. I am Ahmad Farhan bin Abdul Aziz Fahmi. Yes, I am your host for this session. Tonight, we are fortunate to have Mr. Daniel Abdul Rahman. He is a Sunway Education Director. He obtained his Master in Law from Oxford University in the United Kingdom. Mr. Daniel initially began his career as a young lawyer set on defending the oppressed before transitioning to the education sector. The topic of our discussion tonight is the importance of soft skills in employment. Actually, soft skills refer to both character traits and interpersonal skills that will influence how well a person can work or interact with others. So, Mr. Daniel.
Hello. Assalamualaikum. Good evening. Hi, Farhan.
Waalaikumsalam. Yes, Mr. Daniel, how have you doing today?
I've been very well, thank you.
Is it a kind of a busy day for you?
Yes, it was a very busy day for me, Farhan, and I was actually interviewing candidates for the Perdana Fellow and Corporate Fellow program under the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Malaysia. Are you familiar with the program, Farhan?
Actually, I'm not. I'm sorry, but I would like to hear it if you want to share it, but not for now. Actually, I have been told there is someone special that you would like to introduce to the audience. Who is it?
That's right. So, firstly, thank you so much to the organizers for inviting me. We are truly honored. I am truly honored, actually, to come and address this audience from all over Southeast Asia. So tonight, I think I've also invited a dear friend who will also be able to add value, and someone who's very experienced in the space of employment and soft skills and the youth. She's somebody who is currently a senior analyst with BGA, which is Power Group Asia, a top consultancy within the region. She's also a former special officer to the Minister of Youth and Sports. You can ask her more about this later. She was also one of the best debaters in the world back in university. And she's somebody who's also done her master's in the UK, King's College to be precise, and is just a wonderful person all around. And I'm so happy that she's agreed to join me tonight to share her knowledge with all of you as well. And her name is Miss Arina Najwa. There she is.
Hi, good evening. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you for the very kind introduction, Daniel. That's very too kind. But yes, happy to be here. And hi, Farhan.
Oh yeah. Hi Arifa, Arina Najwa.
Yes.
So I'm gonna call you Miss Arina.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay, all right. So uh, you guys will be my two listener or a speaker. So I'm gonna give you something like a question for you. So either one of you can answer it. All right, can give your opinion about it. So Mr. Daniel, based on
Yes, sir.
your experience as a former Oxford student, yes, that I'm really proud to hear as a former student, right? And an education director. Could you please share with us the importance of soft skills in today's world?
So firstly, thank you so much, Farhan, once again, and for the kind introduction. So I think yes, I did my master's in Oxford. I did a master's in law. I also did my undergraduate locally in Malaysia at the International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM. And those, from my undergraduate to my master's, these were very much formative years of me becoming the person who I am today, which is a director in one of Malaysia's largest education conglomerates. To answer your question very succinctly, soft skills is very important, and I believe it'll be important till the end of time. I'll just add that some people don't even call it soft skills anymore. They use the word essential skills, right? Because why is it soft? Because it's so important and it's so essential, right? And let me just say that there are at least 10 soft skills that exist out there. I'm sure by looking at you, you can probably the most popular ones are always communication, right? And everybody goes communication, soft skill. Everyone sort of stops there. But actually, the 10 soft skills, and I'm just going to very quickly share them, is time management, right? Like I love how we started on time. I love the montages that you shared. They were just wonderful to see. Number 2, communication. Number 3, problem solving. That's also a soft skill. Number 4, adaptability. You must be adaptable. Number 5, teamwork, working with other people. Now, number 6, creativity. So, the art, the videos that you shared, I also loved how you all had music in the background. That's creativity. Number 8, interpersonal skills, your interaction with people. Number 9, work ethic, your ability to put in effort. Number 8, attention to detail. That means you must have lots of detail. I noticed, Farhan, you spelled your name in full, Ahmad Farhan bin Abdul Aziz Fahmi.
Thank you.
Right? Wonderful name. And number 10, and believe it or not, most people don't know this is a soft skill, leadership. Right. So these are the 10 soft skills. I hope you took notes, but I'll be very happy to bring them up from time to time. Yeah. So all these soft skills are then sort of contrasted with what we know as hard skills, or essential skills and hard skills. Hard skills are technical skills. Farhan, what do you study?
I'm studying mechanical engineering.
Right. And can you give maybe one example of a subject that you take?
I would say, wait a minute. Actually,
No pressure. No pressure.
there's a programming subject.
Okay. So what kind of programming do you do?
It will be the C++. Programming.
Okay, so let's say C++. So your ability to do C++ programming is a hard skill because it's technical, right? But what you do with the hard skill, like you use the programming to create, let's say, automation or a robot or a code that can automatically order food for yourself when you're hungry. That is the essential skill or the soft skill working together with the hard skill. And that's why I'm just going to stop here for now, this sort of opening bit. And that's why I think it's very, very important in soft skills. So when even in a place like Oxford, the ability to communicate, to speak firmly with other people is also very important in order for people to respect you, to want to listen to you, and for you to share your ideas.
Yeah, that is a very, very cool explanation from you, Mr. Daniel. And how about you, Miss Arina? you like to share something with us about the importance of soft skills?
Yeah, sure. Just to add on with to what Daniel said, and all the things that he said are correct. Interestingly, there's some literature that shows that the origin of hard versus soft skills rooted in the U.S. military. So the reason why it's called hard is because of how much interaction you had with machines, and anything that you didn't have, that didn't have interactions with machines or things that had interactions with paper, for example, are considered soft skills. So it's interesting that hard and soft, the definitions and the assumptions around it have changed over time. Like people connotate soft as like not great or not as important in comparison to like hard skills. Interestingly, as well, in addition to essential skills, the Asia School of Business is trying to explore redefining hard skills versus soft skills. So they call it smart and sharp. There's also a lot of papers written about it, about redefining hard and soft skills. So you guys can also check that out. In addition to all these 10 things, I think the importance of having these soft skills is really about opening up opportunities. So when it comes to your studies, yes, you are qualified, you are competent, you got your certificate, but when you move out into the real world and you start working, things are a lot more gray. So it's not as clear as like, okay, first sem, second sem, and then the pathway is very clear when you're in university. But then soft skills come in when it comes to things like your promotion, your, salaries, things like that. I mean, we'll probably talk about this a bit more, but don't underestimate soft skills. You can. I think Dan can attest to this. We've met a lot of high-ranking people, very very important people, very very intelligent, but lack soft skills. Sometimes they don't know how to manage people. We don't know how to deal with crisis, for example. Don't know how to think out of the box. And that can be very challenging for an organization. So yeah, that's just my little bit of input from my end on hard and soft skills.
Thank you, Miss Arina. That's I really appreciate what you just saying for that. As you can see, that soft skill is a really really important thing, right? Like everyone should have it. Yes, and Mr. Daniel, based on your view, uh, how right, wait, what oh no, sorry.
No
Why
worries.
is it important to master both online communication and face-to-face communication? Right, online communication and face-to-face communication. Why is
Right.
it important?
Mhm. So Farhan, can you see my hands?
Hence,
Can you see my hands?
no.
No.
No,
Can you
no.
see my hands
Yes.
now?
Yes, I see.
Yes. Okay. So let me ask you. Let me sort of put it out there. Do you know how many percent of communication is words versus actions?
I could say the action we will not see it, right?
Come again?
Uh, I think I misunderstood your question, right?
Yeah.
Can you
No
ask
worries.
again?
No. All right. Let's say you have a 100% pie, right?
A pie,
And
okay.
my communication with you, some of it
All
is
right.
words, right? Some of it is my body language,
Oh,
right?
all
I
right.
smile, I look angry, I look surprised, right? Can you tell me how many percent of it is spoken and how many of it is body language? Do you know?
Uh, a percent, I could say a word is more than an action.
Okay, that's what you're saying. What if I told you that the spoken word only accounts for 7% of the impact in communication?
7%.
Yep. That means
Uh,
more than 90% of communication is actually non-spoken,
oh, all right, all right.
right? So what I'm trying to say is when you interact with somebody, yes, you are listening to me with your ears, but you're also looking at me with your eyes. You're looking at my eyes, you're looking at my mouth, maybe where my hands are, you're looking to see how my head turns. Imagine if I'm talking to you like this all the time. You're probably not going to pay any attention to what I'm saying, right? Neither the people at home, right? So this is actually a research. I can't remember the doctor's name at the moment, but I'm going to put it up shortly. But what it says is that communication is actually less than 10% is what necessarily you say. Over 90% is how you say it, right? So to answer your question, the reason why it's important to master online communication is because there are lots of things you can't see now. You can't actually see my hands most of the time because they're off camera, right? You can't see my body. You can't see my legs. My legs might be twiddling, you probably don't know what kind of pants I'm wearing right now, not that it matters. But you imagine when you're in a classroom and your teacher's in front of you, you can see everything, right? Whether your teacher's wearing a tie, right? Whether your teacher's hands are like this or like that. And if you remember, there's a famous TV newscaster in Malaysia, Kapal Singh, who was always doing that whenever he read the news, everything was, in today's news, the big news is traffic jam during Hari Raya, 10 hours to get to Kelantan, blah, blah, blah. And he always does that. And that became his signature. People didn't even remember what he said most of the time, but people remember him doing this. See what I mean? So it's important to master online communication because you have to be aware that because people cannot see your body language as much, you must find other ways to substitute it, right? So what I'm trying to do tonight, if you can see, I'm trying to move my head a little bit from time to time, maybe a smile occasionally, and I try to modulate my voice. Sometimes my voice is high, sometimes it's a bit softer, sometimes I speak faster, sometimes I speak slower. See? And this and all of this will eventually lead to impact. Now, I know you, for example, would have been studying online, especially during COVID over the past few years. So perhaps, when you imagine some of your lecturers teaching you, you know how that feels, whether or not they've been effective or not, based on potentially their body language. So I hope that sort of answers your questions to start off with.
Yes, actually, that's a good answer from my question, right, Mr. Daniel? Thank you. Mr. Arina, Miss Arina, sorry, would you like to add something from my question about online communication and face-to-face communication?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much. So I think both are equally, obviously Dan highlighted the differences between physical and online communication. I think one of the things that we need to take into consideration is what kind of work that you're doing and what's the best method for you to communicate with that person. So for example, I know, let's say you're in engineering, maybe online communication might not be the best, form of communication because you need to get very involved, right? In comparison to maybe other types where you can work from home or it can be remote. So I think especially between online and offline communication, I think you need to determine what is important for you and what works. Not to say that it's not important. I think they are, but you really also need to look at what kind of field that you're working in, and then that will actually help build that online and offline communication. I think another thing to take into consideration of why both online and offline are important is also culture and context. There's some terminologies that does not, or tones that does not come across very well online. Sometimes some people, if you notice, when they write texts or they write messages and they always have a full stop or a period, some people might consider that rude, but some people might consider that normal. I remember when I first transitioned, to work from home a lot, and at that time I just switched to a new role. I worked with a boss who did not have any. He didn't care about how he communicated, with people. So every time he responded something to me, he'll just say yes, or do it now, or how come there's a problem. So I always felt that he wasn't happy with me because he wrote like that, very, very short lines. And I think that's something that you might face and your generation might face because you are entering into the workforce already online, probably with a high likelihood. So I'm just letting you know this so that you can take into consideration that the person is not really thinking about how they perceive themselves online as well. So I think you may need to, that's why it's also equally important. Interesting point, just to add to Dan's example of Karpal Singh, when I was in one of the debate rooms when I was in university, we had a debater who was giving his speech and he was playing with his belly button the entire time while he was giving his speech. So he put his hand in his shirt and rubbed his belly button, and no one paid attention to what he was saying because they were so distracted that he was playing with his belly button. So I think it's very gross. No one shook his hand after the round, of course, because they were just like, "Apa ni?" So yeah. So I think both are important. Same thing here. And even now that we've moved online, there's online Zoom etiquette or conference etiquette as well, right? So things like that's why people encourage you at the workplace or even in university to turn on your camera because you want to see if people are paying attention to you. So I don't think it's either or. We need both, and you have to decide and really think for yourself what works and what doesn't work for you. Yeah, so that's just my input.
Thank you, Miss Arena. As we see that work from home is really a big challenge for all of us, especially for student or someone who should be working interact with each other. So, Mr. Daniel, how does one effectively manage your team while working from home?
Well, Farhan, it's a very interesting question. But if you don't mind, maybe I'll pass it to Arina first, because I haven't actually been working from home very much the past few years. I've actually been in situations where I was considered essential services. So I've actually spent a lot of time in office than work from home. Maybe Arina can enlighten us on this better.
Miss Arina, will you continue with it?
Sure. Yeah, of course. So I think one thing is one of the things to have when you're working from home is you need to kind of build time to connect with your team. Because what happens online and when everything is online, everything becomes transactional. So no more small talk. You know how last time when it comes to universities, or if some of you have started work or have work experience, and studies have shown it's the offhand kind of interactions with your colleagues at the pantry, or when you meet at the elevator. These are the things that help build relationships with your colleagues and with your team. But now, because everything's online, that's been reduced dramatically, and everything is transactional online. What I mean by transactional is I go online, okay, what work do you need to do? I need to do A, B, C, D. Okay, great. What's the update? Okay, thank you, bye. So there's no more small talk of how's your family? What are you doing? What did you do over the weekend? I mean, you can ask those things, but it's just become a checklist, and it's not like what it was before. So I think checking in with your team and having that social time as much as you can, or best as you can online. I think that's really important. Number two, I think setting boundaries. So setting boundaries with your team is also very important, because now everything's moved online. People are always online because now, especially when work has transitioned or overlapped with WhatsApp, for example. So it now has become a lot easier for people to just message you any time of the day because you're home a lot and you're with your phone or on your laptop. Emails keep coming in, and because you're just like, well, I'm at home anyway, I might as well just answer. So boundaries become a lot more blurred. So I think establishing boundaries is very, very important. Things like deadlines as well, it has to be communicated very, very clearly. If you want me to do something, can you tell me beforehand, X amount of days. And I think also building in, time off the screen. What happens then is, because we spend so much time online, we go on the screen a lot. And sometimes companies also want to socialize online. So they organize Zoom quizzes or Zoom parties. But people are tired because I've been on the screen the whole day, and now you want me to be on the screen again. So now things have opened up. So if there's anything to do that, that you guys can do outside of, the computer, I think you should do that because that helps build relationships. One of the challenges definitely during MCO was the lack of relationship building, especially if you're talking about roles that involve relationship building. Interestingly, junior investment bankers suffered the most. And one of the studies showed that junior investment bankers suffered quite a bit during the pandemic because they couldn't rely on their seniors to help negotiate deals, get jobs. So they were a lot more stressed and they had no visibility when it comes to the workplace. So especially when you're younger, you're starting out, that's what you need, right? You need visibility with your boss. You need visibility with your team because how are they going to know I'm doing work well? So that's where it hampers things like promotions. It hampers things like getting the right projects. So I think that's definitely a downside of working from home or working online. That you have to take into consideration and plan. Yeah, so it was a bit longer than expected, but yeah, just that's my take on working from home.
Thanks, Miss Arena. That's a really good opinion from you. Actually, I want to say to the audience that you guys can say something or will be drop down a question in a chat box in our YouTube live. All right. So let's continue. Mr. Daniel, as a debater, uh, how can a candidate best highlight his soft skills in a job interview?
Wow, that's a really good question. How can a candidate highlight his or her soft skills? I think look, what is an interview, right? It is an opportunity for your future bosses, potential bosses,
Yes.
or employer to get to know who you are, right? And I don't think it matters whether the person's a debater or a non-debater or whatever they may have done. They may have done Model United Nations, Toastmasters, Pidato, so many things, right? And not necessarily debating. I think what's important in any interview process are a few things. Number one is preparation. I know if you go to Instagram or TikTok, you'll find all these videos about, a guy sitting on a seat, and when somebody asks him a question, he goes, "So welcome to the interview today. What are you doing? How are you doing?" And the guy goes, "Well, firstly, I'd like to begin by thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's truly an honor to be here as part of this company." And then the person goes, "Oh, yes. Why don't you tell us where you see yourself in 5 years?" And the guy goes, "Well, definitely, I see myself growing with this company, and I see in 5 years' time taking the company's sales, doubling it, tripling it, and being here and continues to grow it." I think, Farhan, the point I want to make here is preparation is very important. And in today's day and age, there are so many resources for young people like yourselves, like your audience, that they can look at. During my time, we actually have to, I don't know, we had to go to our university's career services to attend a interview skills workshop. Have you ever attended one, Farhan? Not yet.
Actually, not.
Not yet. Yeah, you see, so yeah.
Maybe I did once.
Maybe you did. You better check that memory there, young man. Yeah, but the point is nowadays you can go everywhere. There's free resources on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and it's available all around you. I think one of the challenges that a lot of young Malaysians have is they don't understand what it takes when you want to apply for a job and when you're eventually called for an interview. It's also about what you wear. I know tonight was a night session, therefore I decided to dress a bit more casually, but I made sure I at least have a collar, and not come with any other particular type of dress. I've actually seen people who they come for interviews and they don't even do up their hair, or they look like they're messy. So all these things matters, right? Remember what I said earlier? How many percent is non-verbal, Farhan?
90%.
There you go.
7%.
Well, more than 90%. And if I were to break down, 38% is your voice and your tone. 55% is your body language. And this is a piece of research by Dr. Albert Merabian It's called the 7-38-55% rule. So just to repeat this, 7% is the spoken word, the words you use. 38% is your voice and your tone. So imagine, Farhan, if every time I spoke to you, my voice was always like this. How are you doing? Hey, everyone's here. It's nice. So, this is the advice I want to give you. After a while, you just want to close your ears, right? And 55% is body language. So I think the summary to this point is, when any of you go for interviews, number one, be prepared. Number two, watch videos. Number three, find a friend, find a buddy who you can do a simulation with, and so that you're not caught on the spot. And if you're caught on the spot, make sure you prepare things. So in debating, I know some of this, you are debaters here, we have what you call playing the devil's advocate. Have you heard of this term before, Farhan?
No.
Not playing with the devil, okay? You should never play with the devil. You should be the devil's advocate. Okay. What this means is, so imagine there's three of us in this chat right here, right? So what's going to happen is, two of you or one of you will try to poke holes at my ideas. So for example, if I said something like, school uniforms are good, maybe Arina might say,
No, school uniforms are not great because it inhibits my creativity to choose what I wear.
See? So when she says that, Aina says, oh yeah, it inhibits the ability to choose. I said, oh well, but standardization is good for people, because standardization, when everybody wears a uniform, you don't separate between the rich students and the poor students, everybody is equal. What do you think, Arina?
Oh, yes. Yeah. True, but then, it encourages the students to look past their differences, because you assume that everyone will start wearing all these high fancy brands to school.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. No, so you see, Farhan, what we just did was, I gave her one idea, and Arina then started poking holes at those ideas. So in interviews, sometimes you might find an interviewer who purposely will ask you a naughty question or a question to throw you off. Not that they want to derail you, and it's not that they want to fail you, but they want to put you on the spot to see how you react. And that's why preparation is important. And that's why creativity, problem solving, quick thinking are all essential skills, or as Arina says, smart skills. All right, so those are my thoughts about it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Daniel and Miss Arina. From, as you mentioned before, right, that the body language is a 55% from what online communication, right? So I would like to ask, how to train our body language? Do you have some tips for us, as for a student like me?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Well, it's not just online. When I say this is actually the general rule with all communication. Okay. Well, I think the question always is, what kind of body languages are good, and what kind of body languages are not so good. So it's very simple stuff. So number one, now that you're sitting right now, so imagine if I'm sitting straight like this. I mean, okay, looks okay. I'm quite symmetrical. Imagine if I was like this all night. Farhan, body language is important, etc. Right? Or imagine if I was like that all day. Yeah, it's important, and I'm moving back and forth. How do you feel if I'm talking to you like this?
Not really comfortable.
Right? And in fact, it's even disrespectful to not just to you, but to the occasion and to everyone around us. So a few things about body language. I think number one, posture. So always make sure you try to stand up straight. Slouching is not good for your breathing. It's not good for your tone. And it's actually not good for your visual. That's the first. Number two, when you use your hands, actually, a lot of people sometimes they like to, do you know how Donald Trump speaks? The hand, the dad, and there's all that happening, right? And he tries to push it into your face. Some people, they like to sort of push things. Imagine if I did that while I'm talking. Arina's probably feeling very irritated right now. but you see, that's the point. Okay, so when it comes to the hands, always keep it very subtle. Try to never go beyond your chin. Never cover your face, right? Although it might be tempted to go kung fu fighting, Ultraman, and all that. Always keep it below your chin. When you're online, you actually don't need to show your hands. Sometimes you may want to emphasize a point. And like right now, I have to be mindful where the camera is so that I'm going, okay, the 3 things, okay? There are 3 things I want to tell you today. Okay, 3 things? 1, 2, and 3. Do you see any of my hands? No, right? It has to be here. 3 things, 1, 2, and 3, right? And again, always stay away from your face. Keep it away from your face. Don't cover your face. Right? That's the second thing. I mean, as you know, and some of you know, I also host a TV show part-time where I interview, ministers, industry leaders, CEOs, etc. And if you watch some of my videos, you'll notice that I try to keep my hands very low, because when I'm talking to somebody, especially if they're sitting like that, right, I do not want to seem rude or intimidating to the person. Imagine, oh, Farhan, why don't you tell me? What the key points are? Again, you feel very rude, it's very abrasive. And I suppose also being Asian, we have an adab or a certain culture that we want to ascribe to. I'm sorry for being, again, doing this, but these are just examples. But if any of you at any moment felt a little bit shocked by that body language, that's exactly why 55% of this influences communication.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Actually, Mr. Daniel, you an education director, right?
Yes,
I
believe so.
As I see, an education director is a professional who oversees the evaluation, selection, and integration of curriculum and learning materials for the school or other educational institution, like we could say like university. So, my question is intellectual quotient, IQ, more important than emotional quotient, EQ? IQ and EQ.
Interesting question. I don't have the data on me at the moment. I'm sure there's data somewhere. Maybe Arina can jump in on this, and maybe even Arina can jump in later on the body language, because I'm sure she's got very interesting things to share. But to answer your question first, Farhan, very quickly, look, both are important, okay, and that's not meant to be a cop-out answer. But let me just say that there's a very famous saying, I believe it was by Winston Churchill, who was the former Prime Minister of Britain. And well, the quote is at least attributed to him, or it may have been Stalin. Clearly very bad people to mix up. Anyway, the quote goes, 1 death is a tragedy, 1,000 deaths a statistic. Let that sink in for a moment. What do you think the quote means, Farhan? 1 death, a tragedy, 1,000 deaths, a statistic.
Actually, it's a hard question.
No problem. I'll put it this way. What the quote means is, if you were to see one person on TV reported as dead, right, a soldier, you show the soldier's picture, you show the soldier's family, you show the soldier's house. Oh, this soldier came from this place, had gone to war and had died. You feel very emotional about it, right? You'll say, oh, war is terrible. This person has died. They've lost his family. It's a tragedy. Am I right, Farhan?
Yes.
But imagine if it was 1,000 people and there's no space on TV to show pictures. So what they do is they just show you a list of names.
Oh, yes.
For you, it's just a number. Am I right? So oftentimes we correlate IQ with hard facts, statistics, and numbers. Whereas with EQ, it's the emotional side. So while I would say that they're both equally important, we often know that EQ tends to be more influential on humans, because human beings, Farhan, are social and emotional creatures. Yeah. Maybe Arina has some thoughts on this.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously on IQ, you're looking at things like problem solving, using logic, how to break down complex ideas. And EQ deals a lot with recognizing emotion and having a lot of awareness with your surroundings to guide your decisions. And I think they're both important, especially, number one, Let's just talk about in the context of employment. Nowadays, especially mental health has become an increasingly, discussed issue. It's always been an important issue. If you are in a team, yes, you can work together, you can do all of these things, but if you are not also aware and able to manage or even deal with some of your colleagues who may have these issues, then it may have dire consequences, severe consequences. For example, if your colleague has a lack of motivation to work, that may impact you as an employee, or you may have also faced it, when you're doing your group work, right? Like when everything has moved online, someone pulls their weight, someone else doesn't pull their weight. So how do you use your EQ and IQ in these instances? Let's say someone didn't do their part of the assignment because someone passed away because of COVID. So EQ then comes in when it comes to empathy and all of these things, and how to deal with someone who's dealing with loss. And if you look at that in the work context, that's what makes someone wants to stay within an organization, right? If someone has suffered a grave trauma, that's also something that you have to manage within an organization. And I think that for you as candidates entering into the working world, I think that's something that you want to care about, right? Like, do my employers care about my well-being and how I'm taken care of? Do they care if I raise concerns within the organization? Am I heard? That's EQ. So it's really about how you manage people. And I think if, going back to what Dan said earlier as well, EQ goes into the soft skills part, which also includes leadership. And leadership includes managing people, right? And also, and if you're a leader, and how do you keep people motivated? So it's really tapping into that emotional part. In addition to that, crisis management, right? Like if something happens at work, you can't just always do EQ, use your IQ. There's also the EQ element of it, because let's say, a press statement came out about your company, and it's not great. Do you start shouting at everybody, or do you just start putting out, say, oh no, we're going to sue that press company that wrote a statement about us? No. So it's how, in the end, how do you want to come off, and what's the perception that you want to have towards people? So that's where EQ comes in. So I think both are important, and if you think about it, if the analogy that I can use is, it's like an orchestra, right? Like there are some parts that goes higher, some parts that go lower, but all of you are still in sync. It's just knowing when to up the ante on IQ, use more IQ at this point, or use more EQ at this point. So it's not an either or, it's more of knowing when to use it. Or even if you want to drive a car, when do you accelerate, when do you brake? So both are equally important. So I think that's my my input when it comes to IQ and EQ. I think we have quite a few questions in the chat asking about this. Yeah, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Actually, we're gonna move to the Q&A session for. Oh yes, we have a question from our audience, from Amza. The question is, but what kind of skills were crucial for students in their studies? Any one of you can answer it, Mr. Daniel or Miss Aruna?
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of skills are crucial? Is the question? What kind of skills are crucial for students in their studies? Is that the question?
I think so.
Okay. I hope that's the question, Amzar. I think for when it comes to students, to be fair, I studied pre-pandemic. I didn't go to university now, but I would say having a lot of resilience, I think right now is very important, because number one, for you guys, a lot of things have moved online. Not only that, you might also be graduating or working, or even if you're not graduating yet, you want to work and still find work during a time that's not great, right? The economy is still not as great as it was. We're in a conflict globally with Ukraine, and there's, it sounds like a bit of a dystopia because there's food shortages, wages are not as great as well. So I think it can be very demotivating. So I think having a lot of resilience would be a good skill to build, especially for students nowadays. Having said that, that doesn't mean you lose your focus in terms of what you want to do. Because I understand times are hard now, so you may not be able to go and enter into jobs that you wanted to, but you just do something because of money, because you need to support your family, which is completely fine. But having that resilience and keeping that focus, I think, is very, very important. When it comes to, at least for students nowadays, and also because that also ties into your studies, right? Studying becomes a lot more challenging because we read stories online. Some students in some rural parts of Malaysia still having internet access issues. So it's not great, but that doesn't mean it's right. But I do think I empathize with those who do, and I think having that resilience may help overcome that a little bit.
Thank you, Miss Arina. Can we move to the next question from the audience? Yes, from Shed Amir Haikal. His question is: both speakers have amazing work background. What debate threads do you still carry inside your work? Sorry, Mr. Daniel.
Wow, that's an interesting question. I'm laughing because I suppose arguing with people. No, I don't think we argue with people. We actually don't really argue. You argue, Arina? Arina seems like she argues with people. I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah.
I think what traits do I carry? I think a few, right? I think first is asking questions. In debates, we do POIs, right? Points of information, or in Malay, we say mohon mencelah. And that is something which we have to be comfortable with, especially if you hear something and you think, there's something not right about this. I'm going to ask a question. So I think that's one. I think the second one is okay, so maybe one funny thing is I like to do things in numbers. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is this, the second thing I want to say is this, the third thing I want to say is this, right? But let me tell you, everyone here, that's actually a really good thing to do. It's called signposting, right? So if your boss asks you, what do you think of this project? You'll go, sir or ma'am, I've got 2 or 3 thoughts about this project. The first thing I think is this, the second and the third. Because what this does is it really helps you structure your ideas. And most of the top consultants in the world, they sort of speak in this nature, because when you signpost, remember, body language is as important. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. People really sort of remember, you're like, right? So that's it. So I think these are some of the traits which I still carry inside my work. I still have to think of more, but I don't know. What about you, Arina?
Yeah, so I think definitely signposting in terms of, I think it's just more of, I think it's become a habit because I now have to structure my thoughts. And the other thing is, the reason why I laughed at, a challenge, like arguing with people, is just, I think it's not really arguing. It's just, I've become more accustomed to just voicing my own opinion, which may or may not be the same as someone else's. So I think it's become a norm for me to just question. And the thing is, in Malaysia, sometimes the act of just questioning can be seen as being rude or defiant, but I'm asking questions to seek clarity. So I think that's one of the things that's carried with me. Another thing is thinking on my feet, because when it comes to debating, you're given topics 15 minutes beforehand or 30 minutes beforehand. And sometimes during the debate, you don't know what the other person's going to say. So I have to think about something on my feet in terms of like my responses. So this has really helped as well, when it comes to managing emotions and managing anxiety. So even if I'm not sure, at least I don't come off as not confident. I can just be like, okay, thank you for that. I'll get back to you later. In comparison, if I didn't have that training, I'd probably be very flustered if someone challenged me during a meeting. So I think, and also because of that, because I'm always having to think on my feet, I prep before. So I do a lot of reading. I plan beforehand before I enter into any discussion, because I want to be as prepared as I can.
Oh, thank you, Miss Arina. Uh, Here we go for the third question from our audience. Diana Patricia Benti Dino Mazzali, if I read that right. Her question is, do you have some tips for introvert in employment? Uh, any one of you want to share some opinion?
Yeah, so I'll just speak it quick. Thanks for the question, Diana. I tend to associate myself, or as an introvert, though can be quite outgoing in that sense. We are all, as we all know, we are all a little bit introvert, a little bit extrovert, right? We are neither 100% one or the other. I don't know. The way Arina's smiling, maybe she disagrees with me, but one tip, Diana, is I think you need to find one thing that I do is find your sort of safe space. I think you need a place to sort of get into focus, right? That's the first, and that could even mean, like, for me, I like to have my coffee in the morning, so that I'm calm. I'll sit down for a few minutes to myself. I'll look at my emails. I'll check my messages. That sort of puts me in the zone. The second step is always have a colleague who you're comfortable with, and you'll find a colleague who, might also be introverted like you, but when you're together, you can change the world. And what that means is you sort of feed off each other's energy, and then with them, if you need to talk to other people, you can. That's the second. I think number three also is perhaps just have to understand that collaboration is something that's very important in the workforce. So finding the right platforms to bridge this is important. So nowadays, you've got emails, if not emails, you've got calls. If you don't want to, otherwise there's online meetings. I think all of these needs to be explored sincerely. I think it's very hard for an individual to be successful if they want to stay away from all their colleagues, right? So it's about finding a balance. And as some people, they feel very overwhelmed after a long work day. When they go home, like me, they play with your cats. So so there's always a way to recharge your energies after a long day. That's what I think.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Do we have? Yes, we have a next question from Syed Harkal. The same person from the second question, right? His question is a question to Arina. Previously, you worked in many multiple amazing projects. Do you believe that soft skills opens a lot of new opportunities in your life? What do you think, Ms. Arina?
Thank you for the question. I believe so. I think when it comes to, at least let me highlight what are the soft skills that I thought helped me. I think one is, like I said, being able to think on my feet. So because of that, I think some of my superiors saw that I was able to solve problems, with any issues I had with work. So that helped me stand out a bit more in comparison to my peers. So because of that, I kept getting interesting, projects or interesting type of work because they saw that I could do multiple different things. So I feel that's one. Number two, I feel that also I could present. So I think public speaking is one of the few things that scares people. I think it's been globally ranked as, number two after death, right? Like people are scared of death and then they're scared of public speaking. So I think that's another soft skill that I think benefited me a lot because I was able to present. I could present well. And that also made an impact within that organization. And that's also when you make the organization that you're representing look good, then that's when your superiors also will start paying attention. They'll be like, hey, that day, Farhan did really well, during that moderating that he did. We should get him for another moderating session. So that's how opportunities open up, right? Because you are visible and people see what you can do, and then you're given more opportunities. And I think just saying yes to different types of opportunities, and that's the thing with soft skills, they are transferable in different fields. So you can be doing multiple things and get that visibility, and it may open up a door for you that you didn't know, existed. So yeah, I think I think these are the kinds of soft skills that I think helped me in my career.
Thank you very much, Miss Arena. With that last question from our audience, we have come to the end of our session. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Abdul Rahman and Miss Arina Najwa for sharing your thought and opinion. I hope all of you have benefited from the talk. And don't forget, we still will be having Mr. Daniel tomorrow night as well. And he will be covering the topics public speaking and self-esteem. Sounds intriguing, right? Till then, I hope that you will enjoy the next session, which is our forum. Back to you, Miss MC.
Thank you, Farhan. Thank you, Arina. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farhan. Everybody, please give another round of applause for Mr. Daniel Abdurrahman and Arina Najwa. Thank you so much for willing to have this session with us. This is essential for students as it encourages us to learn ways of improving our soft skills, especially in employment. Now, let's move on to our second session, which is the forum entitled Scholarship and Student Exchange Program, Tips and Experience. The moderator of this session is Mr. Danish Hanafi bin Taini Achin. The panelists are Ms. Nur Afikah Muhammad Shukri from the Faculty of Chemical Engineering UiTM Cawangan Pulau Pinang, Malaysia, Mr. Aldino Parsi from the Faculty of Economy and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak, Indonesia, Ms. Fernanda Widya Pangestika from the Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak, Indonesia, and Ms. Tricia Serranoso Angus from the School of Education, Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, Philippines. It is an honor to have these brilliant students here. Now, let's give them a round of applause for these four brilliant guests. Take it away, Mr. Danish.
Thank you, Ms. Farah. Assalamualaikum and good evening. Welcome to the next session of our International Youth Engagement Talk, Series 2022. For today's topic, we are going to discuss about scholarship and student exchange program. My name is Danish Hanafi, and I am your moderator for today's forum. We are honored to have some amazing panelists for today's forum to share further insight about the topic as well as the tips and tricks. As we know, getting a scholarship and being an exchange student is many students' dream. Being able to go on an adventure in a new place definitely is an exciting opportunity. However, to apply may be hard enough for certain students because of the strict requirement, such as excellent academic result and co-curriculum activities, among others. Some students who got the chance may also face issues earning good grades in their studies. I believe all of us do have some question in mind in regards to this topic. Kindly post your question in the chat box. We will address them later at the end of the session. Before proceed discussing the interesting topic, let us get to know our panelists for today's session. We are honored to have few diligent students representing different universities today. I am thrilled to introduce them to you. Our first panelist is Nurul Afika Muhammad Shukri from College of Chemical Engineering, University Technology Mara, Cawangan Pulau Pinang, Malaysia. The second panelist is Mr. Aldino Parsi from Faculty of Economy and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak, Indonesia. Our third panelist is Ms. Fernanda Widya Pangestika from Faculty of Health Science, Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak, Indonesia. Finally, we also have with us Ms. Tricia Serenozo Angus from School of Education, Xavier University, and Ateneo di Cagayan, Philippines. Apa kabar and kamusta kayo?
Baik, luar biasa. Alhamdulillah baik.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Magandang
evening,
gabi.
have a nice day.
everyone.
How's your day going?
It's been good and really
Challenging.
exciting.
As we know, different experience, different perspective. They are here to share this with us today. Let us now proceed with the forum. Okay. The first question is, have you had any experience in receiving a scholarship or been an exchange program before? Maybe you can share your experience with us. We can start with Miss Nurul Afika, or can I call you Miss Afika?
Mr. Moderator, thank you very much for the introduction. Hello, guys. Good evening. My name is Nura Afika. You can call me Ika. And I am the representative from the UITM, Cawangan Pulau Pinang from Malaysia. It's nice to meet you all. So yeah, back to the question. I did join a student exchange program not recently before actually. It's called Sakura Science Program. Actually, it is organized by JFO in University Tokyo on 28 February until March 2. From other institutions itself.
Thank you, Miss Afika. How about you, Mr. Aldino, or can I call you Mr. Dino?
Of course, thank you so much. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Aldino Persi. You can call me Dino, and I'm honored can join this activity and with amazing moderator and amazing panelists, of course. And yes, I have participated student exchange in 2019. The program is organized by CMEO program, and this is held every year in 3 batches. And CMEO is a regional intergovernmental organization. So this program is looking for so many talented students in across around Southeast Asia, includes Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, and so many more. And I'm really excited when I go to the Philippines. And my location country at the time is the Philippines. So specifically in Batangas, in Trisha place, of course. So it was delightful moment for me. So I doing my internship in LPU, Lyceum of the Philippines University. And yeah, the activity such as like attending the class and doing internship in 3 departments, especially with my background, I am the economic and business student. So 3 departments are human resources department, and then accountancy department and international affairs. And yeah, that was the memorable journey for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dino. Okay, we are going to Mrs. Fernanda. How about you?
Okay, hi. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Fernanda Widya Pangestika, and you can call me Nanda. I'm a psychology student from Universitas Muhammadiyah Pontianak, and it is an honor to be here talking to you guys, amazing people. Back to the question, yes, I'm actually still in the program. I'm an exchange student The program is called International Credit Transfer to Asia University Taiwan. But sadly, because of the COVID-19, I'm not going to Taiwan. We're doing it online. So I'm as excited as the others to hear the experience of the other panelists since I'm not going to the country yet.
Okay, thank you, Miss Nanda. What about you, Miss Trisha? You want to share any experience with us?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, allow me to introduce myself. I am Trisha S. Angos, and I'm a graduating student from Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan, taking up education. And honestly saying, I don't have any experience on student exchange program, but I have a lot of friends that does so. And I have a lot of fair share on scholarship programs. Actually, as of the moment, I have two major scholarship, CHED and also on academic on my school, full tuition scholarship, and it's very hard to achieve actually, and I've applied for it. I think both all of us can really have a fair share of being applying for such scholarship programs, and it's not a very easy task for a student to do. And lucky for me, my grades have passed the scholarship program, and I was able to apply for it. So again, I'm also very excited. I'm very honored to be part of this amazing program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Trisha. That was a great experience that you share with us. Okay, looking forward to the next question. How do you decide, or what will you do to get a scholarship or student exchange program that will be the most suitable for you? And maybe some tips on the application process. Let us start this round with Mr. Dino.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Danish. So, for me, um, the student exchange program and the scholarship program is quite same, are quite same, and they are has so many advantage for every student, for special, and both are important for me. And because these are quite similar, as we mentioned before, so many advantage that we can get from this, and because I already applied the student exchange program, I still have a dream and planning to apply the scholarship, and wish me luck. And then scholarship in outside country, maybe when I will take master degree or PhD, who knows, as long as the opportunity is available, why not? So the tips for me, in 2019, I applied, I'm the participant of the student exchange program in the Philippines. The first of all, you have to search and active to looking for the informations in the website, and then in international affairs department in your institution. So, and the second, you can learn about the program, what kind of program that you want to apply. And the third, maybe you can improve your ability, like language. You can learn about the knowledge that you didn't know before. And of course, the most important thing, sometimes they are not looking for the smartest one, but they are looking for the person who has huge motivation in their self. And yeah, maybe those are my tips. So that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dino.
Mhm.
Okay, we are going through about, how about Miss Nanda?
Okay, for me to choose which most program that's suitable for us, it is important for us to search for the background first, both for the program and also the university that you're going to. So you can match with your personal and you can match with the knowledge that you want to get. And the tips, I think it is a lot of important things. Mr. Dino already mentioned some of them, but don't forget to prepare your mental, because applying for this kind of program is took a lot of effort, and you have to have a good resilience to face it, something like that. And you have to show that your value, like what Mr. Dino said. I agree with him. There's a lot of smart people in this world, but you have to show them that you are different. What can you do that different with everyone? Why they have to choose you? Why you are better? Something like that. So you have to find something like bright inside you first. You have to know yourself first. That's from me.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Nanda. Do you want to share with us, Miss Tricia?
Yes. Excuse me, for the tips also and for the experiences, it's good that my co-panelists have talked about student exchange program, and maybe I could talk about scholarship, or what we call as financial support for students, based on academic achievement, or other criterias per se. So on scholarships, there are a lot of people who have scholarships, especially on universities, right? And it pushed us through. It motivates us to do good in our studies because we have grades to maintain, so that we will not be, yeah, we will not get rid of that scholarship that we have. And it's also very helpful for students to have that scholarship that we have. And for the tips, maybe one thing that I could tell the viewers is, of course, to be motivated to go to school, to be motivated to do your hard work in your academic achievements also, because the grades also matters when it comes to having scholarship. Good grades, and also passing grades, of course, for you to apply for that certain scholarship. So also the tips is, Miss Nanda also said that there are a lot of interviews, paperworks to do for you to pass a scholarship. And it's not just a one-time deal, it's a very long process. And you have to pray as well, so that you will pass and you will get the scholarship that you really wanted. And also, first and foremost, of course, you have to be aware of the scholarships that are being given in the university that you are planning to go to. So those are just some of my tips. Maybe I can share a bit more later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Tricia. That was an exciting experience that we heard from you. How about you, Miss Afika? Do you have any experience?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator. Can you repeat again the question, because I have connection problem before?
Okay, it's okay. The question is, how do you decide, or what will you do if you get a scholarship or student exchange program, and that will be suitable for you?
I
Maybe
see.
you have some
Okay.
tips.
So sure. Absolutely. I would like to share with you guys here. So, how do I find myself? This program is suitable with me. So, since I find myself, Sakura Science program is very beneficial to me, because since I am able to go to Japan, actually, this program allows me to go to Japan physically, but due to COVID-19 restriction, there was no lucky there, and I need to attend online, just the meeting only. But it's okay. You try to experience more, although it's online, right? So,
Yeah.
how do I find it suitable? It's because I can go to Japan actually. So, as we know, like Japan is very famous with their inventions, their cultures, the food, just name it. All of that is popular, right? The anime, of course. So I'm a fan of itself too. So the country itself plays a vital role, because you can experience more and learn more about new things about the country, which is different for your country, right? And also the other things that plays a vital role too is about the funding. So basically, this program funds the whole expenditure. It means that, like, it pays you for it sponsors you for the tickets, the flights, the accommodation, if I can go there actually. So it will be a very safe budget for me because I just need to bring my own pocket money for my expenditure, because since their program is already funding about this program. So I think those two are very important to decide the most suitable student exchange program to you. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Afika. Thank you for the uh, thank you for your share about your experience and what will you decide. You have hit these guys. Stay motivated will make you more improve, and this will be tips on your application process. For the third question is, what do you do to prepare yourself if you have any opportunity to travel to another country for an international program? Will the preparation be the same as the local one? Miss Veranda, can you share it with us?
Okay, first of all, I never been outside Indonesia before, so but maybe I have a picture in mind. It's maybe a lot more to prepare than to go to the local university, because you know you are going outside the country, you have to prepare your visa, passport, something like that, and you have to search about the country as well, because you don't want to have a big culture shock. So you know how is the culture there, and what how is the society, and you can try to practice your English maybe so you can communicate well, and also you have to prepare like your emotional and mental as well, because you know that's so important, because you're going to be outside your country, outside your community, being far from your family or friend, that could make some we've been quite emotional, right? So you have to prepare a lot of things. Maybe Mr. Dino could share because he's going to outside the country before.
Okay, shall I? Okay, for me, the first of all, of course, we should prepare the private document like passport, visa, and all the things that we need to uh, pass the board. And then the second, as Miss Fernanda mentioned before, that we have to prepare in ourselves, like practice our language, and then learn about culture. Yeah, that is the important thing. So before I go to the Philippines, in my experience, I looking for searching about the information about the Philippines. So like food, like the culture shocks there, and how can I overcome with the differences. For especially for the example, I'm a Muslim, so we know that we prohibited to consume the pork. And then we also know in the Philippines, 90% more is Catholic, right, Tricia? And then um, my difficulties thing is I so really difficult for me to looking for the halal food there, but alhamdulillah I can overcome it. And then yeah, learn about the cultures, learn about the program, also the important thing, and yeah, prepare yourself well and properly. That's for me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dino. You want to share with us, Miss Tricia?
Yes, thank you, sir. So, for me, same goes with Miss Nanda. I haven't been able to other countries aside from the Philippines and also the local ones. But for me, maybe if I will be able to travel around the world or another country, I think same goes with Mr. Aldino, right? Dino.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
exactly.
Yes, Aldino. Maybe if I will also be I will pursue my masters. Maybe I could pursue it in other countries as well. So just my aspiration as well. And also same goes with their answers. It's really different when it comes to going outside the country than just in the local one, because of course we have to prepare our passport, visa, and other documents. Especially in the Philippines, there are a lot of documents that you need to pass before you are going to other country, especially if you are going there for school. So there are a lot of things to do, interviews, paperworks to do, prepare a lot of it. And how do we prepare ourselves? Perhaps yeah, you have to research about the country, research about their culture. We have to respect them because we are just tourists, or we are just yeah, tourists there. We are not native in that country, so we have to really research about their culture. We have to be sensitive with their culture as well, and also we have to prepare ourselves mentally. It's because it's a different environment that you are now. It's a different surrounding that you are in. So you have to also adapt to the culture, adapt to the people, be friendly with the people there, and also maintain relations, and also connect, build your networks. Because if you will come back, for example, if you will come back to Philippines, you will have friends there. You will have your relationship there. So everything will
Yeah.
be at ease. So just that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Tricia. Do you mind to share your experience or your tips, Miss Afika?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, before the preparation that I did before is basically preparing the passport, since the passport is as an official identity when you go to overseas, right? So basically, if you're a Malaysian, it does not quite hazy or fussy documentation. You just need to have an online booking on the website, and then you go to the office and snap your beautiful picture, and then just wait for an hour, and then you're done with your passport. So it's not so fussy to do a passport. So it's just like require for a day. So I think passport is very easy to do if you do it early at the time. And also the preparation that we should make is actually prepare the right amount of clothes. Yeah, for me it's quite challenging because I tend to bring all of the clothes actually, because I think all of the particulars are very important, especially I'm a girl right here. So what do I do is I try to listing, planning the right amount of clothes, since Japan is a four-season country. And then you need to wear proper attire, right? Like the long johns or jackets. So you need to have a proper planning for clothes, since you don't want to be have 2 or 3 luggages at the end and then go back here again like 5 to 6 luggages. So you don't want that, right? So I think preparing clothes is actually looks easy, but it's actually very important too. So you need to prioritize what more important. So planning is very important to when you go to abroad to ease your journey. And also, what I encountered during the meeting, I would like to agree with Miss Fernandez. I'm sorry, your name,
You
Miss
can call me
Fernanda.
Nanda.
Yes, Renanda. Okay, I'm sorry. So she said that the learning of some language from the other country is very important because, yeah, I think if you learn something like simple words, like for the Japanese, like konnichiwa or arigato gozaimasu, it's simple. It's like an easy phrase to us, but when you try to learn, and the other side will appreciate your effort and try to understand more, and you will have more interactions with them. So I think it will be very beneficial if you could learn some easy phrases to interact with them. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Miss Africa. Okay, from the explanation, we get that we should prepare our things really well before we go to abroad. So the next question is, what are the some difficulties you face during a scholarship or student exchange program? How do you deal with these difficulties? Maybe we can now start with Miss Trisha.
Yes. Okay. For me, for the difficulties, I'd like to talk about more on the scholarship part. So, for me, of course, there are a lot of difficulties that we students will be facing and are facing when it comes to maintaining our scholarship grants or our scholarship aid. And one of it is of course failure of subjects because it will actually affect your stand on the scholarship grant. So the difficulties of it actually is also to how do we manage our extracurricular activities, our co-curricular activities, juggling with our academics. So academics, extracurricular, co-curricular, and then you are a scholarship grantee. So how do you juggle that? So it's a very difficult task to do, and actually it's also sort of like convenient for us because we have experienced online learning now, and we can actually juggle a lot of things one at a time. We can actually join meetings, even two meetings one at a time, because it's online, so it's really happening in a real time session. So um just that a lot of difficulties will be faced, especially also on mental health. Here in the Philippines, it's a rampant issue that we are also tackling, especially in online setup. There are a lot of students who are struggling to maintain their scholarship grants because they are having online classes, and a lot of them don't have the capacity, don't have the materials to go over online classes. And those are the challenges that they are to face when it comes to maintaining their scholarships. And for me to deal with those difficulties, I think we should go back, we should go to our dream. We should think of our dream. Why did we started to go to school? Why did we do this? Why did we enter college? It's because we have to achieve this dream. We have to achieve this goal. And I think that motivation that we have will keep us going. Will keep us going despite the circumstance that we have facing in maintaining our scholarship grants or even in student exchange program, because I think it's a very big task being an exchange student. I think all of my co-panelists here would agree. It's a very big task. And also, you're not just bringing yourself, but you have to bring the school with you. So you have a lot of tasks to juggle. And I think, yeah, there are a lot of difficulties, but if you are motivated to do your task at hand, if you are motivated, if you have a dream to really pursue it, I think you can really make it. So that's just it, Mr. Danish. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Trisha. Do you want to share with us, Mr. Dino?
Okay, for me, as my experience in 2019, I don't really feel that uh, so many difficulties for me because like the culture, the weather, the people are nice there in your country, Trisha, and I love the Philippines so much. I really love because
Wow.
yeah, the Philippines like my second country, my beloved second country, and then the foods. I love your food, and the only one obstacle or difficulties for me just pork because I have to be careful. But your chicken adobo, your menu is really special, and I really love your foods, your cultures there, and the peoples there. I love in Philippines. It's similar like in Indonesia. They are really warm. They are welcoming, really friendly, and yeah, it's really hard for me to move on. And then how I deal the difficulties when I went to the Philippines in 2019. as Tricia mentioned before, that we have to respect the cultures there. We have to respect people around there, and yeah, we should know the differences. So we can't do think that our culture is much better. No, but the every cultures are diverse. Every cultures we can learn about the cultures. We can learn about the our experience when we go to the outside country. So yeah, maybe that's for me. And it once again, it was really wonderful journey.
Thank you, Mr. Rino, for exciting experience that you share with us.
Thank you.
Do you mind to share with us, Miss Nanda?
Okay, I'm actually find several difficulties that I'm struggling with in my program actually because I'm a credit transfer exchange program. So I'm studying in two university. So I have double assignment. I have an assignment from my home university and I also have assignment from Asia University Taiwan. It is a lot because I have to having a good time management. If I don't make a good time management, I will be uh, find it so hard to do it, because it's a lot. And also, it's not a burden actually, but something that I always keep in my mind is I have a duty that I have to keep the good name of Indonesia. It's not only my university, it's not only maintain the good name of my Muhammadiyah University, but I have to maintain the good name of Indonesia because we represent Indonesia as a student. And also, uh, it's not the difficulties, but the thing that I really don't like is, I have several friends from other country, from India and from Taiwan as well in my class, but our interaction is not really flexible. We can only interact to each other through the screen, just like now. And I really wanted to interact with them face to face, but it cannot be happen because we're not in the same city because of this COVID-19. And hopefully this will overcome soon. So every student that joining student exchange program or scholarship can go to the country that they're looking for. That's it.
Thank you, Miss Nanda. There was a as we know, right? COVID-19 due to COVID-19, we have our journey on online classes, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to
Yes,
us
yes.
to keep what you call it communicate face to face with the others. Okay. How about you, Miss Afika? Do you want to share with us?
Yeah, so for me, before this, I have encountered one difficulties where you try to hear others to talk in different accent. So since I've never been to another country before, it's quite challenging for me actually because you hear from Philippine accent, you hear the Japanese accent, so it's very different. It is quite a lot of struggle there. Although it's online meeting, especially online meeting, and also the presenter is from the big person from big company, so they use quite high vocabulary but with their own accent. So I encountered that as a challenging phase for me because the delivery of English is different person by person, right? Because and also I encounter this as difficult for me since I've always stayed in my comfort zone since my surrounding is like similar accent just for me. So when I encounter this, it's quite struggle for me. So how do I deal with it? Well, actually, when listening to a non-native speaker, I'll ask myself, so where are you, Afika? Did you track on yourself again? I will track back myself. Did you focus just now? So I will keep reminding myself to keep on the track and also try to relax and calm and then hear word by word. It's okay if you don't understand the whole concept. it's the main point of the story, right? If you don't understand the whole one, it's okay. At least you try. Actually, when you're joining a conference or a webinar, it's actually a skill that you need to learn because you try to understand others' accent, others' language. So it will take some time to discover, to learn more, but it's a process. So trust the process and you will be better from before. So yeah.
Agreed.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Miss Afika. There was a nice sharing that you share with us. Yeah, as we know, right, each country have a different pronunciation in English language, right?
Yes.
So it might
Accent.
be hard. Yeah, the different accent. It will be a hard situation we can that we must adapt. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Afika. Okay. For the next question, is it hard to get a scholarship if you are in a science streams such as engineering, has science courses, and what is different with the other course such as business and so on? Is there any different to get a scholarship? There is a random question that's come out on my mind.
Actually, I have experience of this situation. I was planning to applying scholarship named IISMA in my country in Indonesia. So it's a scholarship that can bring you to other country to study for 1 semester, and it is actually quite sad because I come from a hot science program study, right? I'm a psychology study program, and the opportunity is really different with the other study program, such as engineering and maybe law and something like that. So the hot science program is tend to be more little. So there's hundreds or so many country, and it's only two university that's accept psychology student and they given a psychology international course. So it is a bit sad for me actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Miss Nanda. How about the others? Do you mind to share with us?
Um, yeah, I would like to share as well. For me, when it comes to getting scholarships, I think every course, every program in college is difficult. It has its different difficulty level, right? And when it comes to engineering, I think it is really challenging as well. And also based on my experience, I am actually an education student major in general sciences, so I am tackling all of the branches in science. So it's a bit challenging as well. And when it comes to maintaining your scholarship, especially your grades when it comes to your major subjects like chemistry, inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, also a lot of mathematics that we have to encounter. Okay, a lot of it, a lot of numbers, but it's quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge, and it inspires me to really do my best and to really excel in my profession that I would like to take in the future. And yeah, one thing also that's challenging also when it comes to science subjects is of course the degree of difficulty of the subject itself. A lot of memorization, a lot of calculations, and also maintaining your scholarship is really a challenge for us science students. And others may find our course very boring, very challenging because we are dealing with science and also a mix of mathematics and such. But I would like to say that it's not boring at all. It's a very interesting program. It's a very noble program that to be an educator in the future. So yeah, that's one thing that I would like to also share with the whole world that's watching here. So it's not just we are an education student and our course is a boring subject, but no, every course is really difficult, and we have our passion. And if your passion is teaching, then you have to do it also. So that would be just it, Mr. Danish.
Yeah, I'm totally agree. Thank you, Miss Trisha. How about you, Mr. Dino? Do you mind to share with us?
Yes, in my in my opinion, yeah, so many informations that Miss Fernanda and Miss Tricia described before. For me, I agree and totally agree with Miss Tricia that every course has different levels. So for me, my background is economy and business students. So as my experience, uh, when I doing my activities in 2019 for my student exchange, I visit the class. I attending the class and then learning about learning about the course about the so many subjects there. But when I realized that, I thought to myself that this is same with my subjects in my campus. So uh, the challenging is when I go to when I have my internship in the department. So maybe the challenging is not really difficult for me because that was exciting moment for me, and as long as we can overcome with our excitement, I think there is no something great obstacles for us. So that's for me as my experience.
Yeah, everyone have their own way to adapt the challenge, as we know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
of
you,
course.
Mr. Dino.
Thank you.
How about you, Miss Afika?
So I think for me, as I am from the background of chemical engineering, bachelor in chemical engineering environment. So I think student exchange program is very open here. Is you just need to grab the opportunity when it came. Since engineering is all about innovation, the technology, how to improve the community by the technology and innovation. So I think in my university, it has wide opportunity for you to join student exchange program. It's just a matter of you grab the opportunity. You want to grab it or you want to say bye bye to them. So I think um, when you have the opportunity, don't hesitate it. You just grab and go because you don't know when the opportunity will come again, right? So
Yes.
soon when you grow older and then you will remind, why don't I take the opportunity before? It's just like a matter of time, but yeah, it's so you will feel regret later. So don't waste your youth, spend your time wisely, and if you have the chance to go, and especially when it is funded, it is so worth it. You just like feel it's like a dream come true when it is
Yeah.
funded, right? Because mostly program is not fully funded. You need to
Mm.
pay some for it, and it quite has fussy, is it fussy, because you need to have your own pocket money to pay for the transportation. But this time, it's my luck that I can go by sponsored by the JF Aberdeen University and the Japan itself. So if you have the chance, just grab it. They're like seriously, just grab it. Okay. So I think that's all from me.
There's nothing impossible.
Thanks, Miss Afika. Yeah, we should grab the chance that we get, right? So we have come to the end of the session. I would like to thank all of the panelists for sharing with us their insight and value experience. It is a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for attending. We hope the information given by the panelists will be useful to all of the students. Till then, good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice
Maraming
day.
Thank you.
salamat. Thank you, thank
Maraming
you.
salamat. Terima kasih banyak.
Maraming salamat.
Selamat.
It's nice to meet you guys.
See you again.
See you again.
Thank you, Mr. Danish. What an interesting fourth session. Hopefully, the information that is being shared by all speakers have helped a lot of students to manage their emotional well-being better. Thank you so much for willing to attend this event. Time flies so fast with amazing people. Please give another round of applause for all of our guests for today. Now we have reached the end of our prestigious webinar program. I feel so honored to be able to host the second day of this international event. I would like to give a big shout out to our amazing team that makes this webinar program run smoothly. We would like to thank our viewers who have stayed with us throughout the entire program. Please fill in the feedback form from the link provided in the chat box. We hope to get your opinion on our event. Till we meet again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.